What's up, guys? Welcome back. For the last month, I've been working on my first ever official professional filmmaking gig. And I just sent over the finished product, the final commercial. This film is a product showcase commercial for a company that designed these sports helmet masks. So masks are specifically designed for athletes to go underneath a helmet. They have this cool, I think it's plastic or something like that, bendable piece here so it perfectly shapes to your nose. I know this sounds like an ad, it's not. And it's shaped in like a triangle, so this piece can get held by the face guard. You'll see it in the video. So today I want to have a conversation with you about how I directed and filmed this product commercial, what my specific vision behind it was, and then the technical aspects that went into creating that. With each shot, we'll break it down, we'll take down each scene, some of the hiccups that we ran into and how we overcame them. But we can't do that without first introducing to you the Achieve Sports Helmet Mask. Enjoy. Cool. I hope you liked it. I already sent it over to the clients and they've responded and everything and they really liked it. Before we get into the direction and the breakdown and the scene by scene and the play by play, first we got to get the gear out of the way because I know everyone's going to be asking the specific gear in the comments down below. So let me just tell you the gear I used to make this thing happen. I used my Canon M50. It's a mirrorless camera. It's an APS-C, so it's a crop sensor. And that's my camera of choice. That's what I use for these YouTube videos, and that's my main video camera. So I used that. So I used two main lenses to make this happen. All the wide shots were done with my Canon EFM 22mm f2 lens that's sitting on my camera right now. So I basically just read that off. And then for all my close-ups, I use my Canon Nifty 50. That's just a 50mm lens. It's on an adapter for my M50. But this is a 50mm f1.8 lens, so a very nice open aperture so you can get depth of field, which I knew I wanted with those cool lights on the field so that we could get some bokeh out of those and some nice compression in our lens. So we used the Nifty 50, and obviously because it's a crop censored camera, that 50mm turns into around an 82mm lens. So that's kind of the ideal length that we would want for close-ups of someone's face. And then we had a mixture of gimbal and handheld shots in there, but for all of our gimbal shots we used the Weebill S that's from Zhiyun. I find this a really good gimbal, and I specifically like it because of the underslung mode. If you screw the top on in there, so you can really get low to the ground and get some nice cinematic shots, and it allows you to kind of pick the camera up with you without having to do the weird like holding the stick of traditional gimbals. So I really like this. And then for our lighting, we used one Mount Dog softbox for those inside shots. You've seen those on my channel before, and you know that I really like those softboxes. And they're really easy to transport because they're not too big. So that was nice. I could set it up, break it down fast. And then for the field shots, we just used the field lighting. I had to pull some strings to get them to leave the lights on for us at night, but they did, and we were able to get those shots with those cool lighting. And then for our microphone, we actually just used my Blue Yeti to record the voiceovers of the breath. That was actually sampled by us. Maybe I should upload that to a stock website if you think that breath is stock worthy. And then there were a few parts where I actually did have some atmospheric noise in the background, if you may have heard. And for that, I just used my Rode shotgun mic mounted on top of the camera. All right, so that's the gear out of the way. Again, gear matters the least out of everything creating videos. So don't get bogged down on the gear. But if you have an M50, you may find this a little bit more helpful because you can actually see like you can get by doing professional stuff on your entry-level mirrorless camera. Okay, so now that the boring gear is out of the way, let's talk about the direction that I wanted to take this thing. So for directing this commercial, it was actually very hard because they left it pretty much completely up to me. They had a few reference things that they liked, and they wanted it to be something that kind of would appear on ESPN or something like that, so a very sporty commercial. But there was no kind of direction in the plot or anything like that. And I like making sure we have some like plot to string us throughout the whole thing. So in this one, I thought of just a football player who right now, while they're in quarantine, they're kind of desperate and they're like, oh, maybe I can't play. And they're kind of bored in their room and they're just thinking about how they wish they could be on a field. And the idea is that the mask is the solution to that. So I thought that that would be a cool way to showcase the product in a sort of narrative plot driven way. So that's what we ended up doing. So that's my little director's moment. I'm taking the director cap off and putting on the cinematographer gloves. And now the DP in me, director of photography, is going to come out a little bit. So let's go through our scene by scene breakdown and let you know how I made these happen and the technical things, how I lit each scene and how that worked out. So the first scene was the bedroom scene. And in this scene, we actually just set up the light behind the door so it was hidden by the door and it could be as close to our actor as possible and at a 45-degree angle aimed down at him. And then for the second shot, I definitely wanted to make use of the fact that we had the gimbal on site. So I wanted to do this cool like parallax shot where we move around our actor and he freezes in motion. So for this, we set up on one side of him. We had him throw the ball up. We told him to freeze. We move around the actor and then we stop in place and then we tell him to continue the action. And then in editing, we speed ramped that so that middle part just seems like we moved, but the actor stayed in the same spot. So that's how we made that one happen. If that was confusing, I apologize. So now we move to the field, and we wanted to get all these shots on the same day, but that didn't end up happening because we got to the field on the first day. We shot like 2 shots and public safety kicked us off, and they're like, sorry, field's closed. We're like, really? Because the lights are all on and we were able to get onto the field. He's like, no, field's closed. You got to leave. So obviously we left and we complied, but then I had to take a bunch of time and finally get permission from a bunch of different people to be on the field and coordinate with them and had to beg them to keep the lights on. They actually did for us. So all the shots we got, with the exception of those first 2 establishing shots and then one shot that's just mixed into those other ones, were all done on the second day of filming. So we showed up, we saw that it was super foggy, which we were so stoked about because we were talking about how we wanted it to be foggy on that first day, and it was a little bit, but not as much. But then this second day was so foggy, and the fog would come in waves that when it would come, we were like, okay, we got to get this shot. And then we'd do some close-up shots where the fog doesn't matter as much. And then the fog would roll in again, and we're like, okay, now let's get this super wide shot with the fog and the pushing in, because then we're pushing through the fog, and it'll look so cool. So everything just ended up working out, and the lights just framed the shot super well. I could use those for some bokeh, for some close-up shots. So now for these build-up shots, this isn't how I wanted it to go. I took a lot of shots so we would have the leeway to go in this direction, but the first cut that I did of this commercial was much more sporty and you couldn't really see the mask as much, which I totally agree with. And they wanted kind of more mask shots. So some of these shots ended up just being like leading up shots where we didn't actually plan on using them. Because I took those shots and I held on to them, we were able to work them into the final edit in some way. For example, the shot where the mask pops out to the side and he's just adjusting his mask. This was me just setting focus and just holding the shot as he was preparing for the next shot where he would put his helmet on. So that opening shot where we could actually see his mask, we didn't realize that it would actually turn into being something that's very valuable because we didn't actually have a lot of shots of just the mask without the helmet. Originally, I wanted the mask to pop out and rotate as we were examining the features, so I did this whole thing where I set up a green screen in my room right behind me, and I took some shots, and I masked out the whole thing. But because it was suspended in midair, it actually didn't look like fabric and didn't look like a mask. It looked kind of rubbery, so not realistic, and then we would have to crop out the straps, which would make it, again, not clear that it was a mask. But I spent a lot of time on that, so I just want to throw that in the video real quick and show you how to make products fly, which might actually be a video coming in the near future, a tutorial specifically on how to make products fly. But anyway, we ended up going with the static shot to point out the features, and then I actually keyframed it so when the mask appeared at first, it appeared over our subject's mask, so it looked like it came right off his mask and popped out to the side, which I think was a nice touch to it as opposed to just appearing in the side. Now it kind of, again, is motivated in some way. Now guys, I actually want to show you the first version of this commercial because I think that it's good to see the progression and how we definitely took it more in the product showcase direction with the final edit. But I think that the first edit was actually really good in some ways, and it's more of like a sports film, and I actually like the first edit more as something that might go on my website or in my reel, just because I think that we were able to squeeze in more shots and everything because we didn't have to take so much time showing the product. But again, in a product showcase, obviously we want to show the product. So I'm not mad in any way that we didn't use that first edit. But I want to show you the first edit because I think that that one's a better representation of the cinematography in this piece. So go ahead and watch that. So that edit was, again, more sporty, more cinematic, and there were a lot more shots in there, which was cooler. But again, obviously we had to show the product. And guys, I knew beforehand that it would be so hard to actually show this product because we wanted to show it underneath the mask. So one thing I did was I looked up mouth guard commercials. And I know that sounds silly and sounds funny, but I knew that mouth guard commercials would have an equally, if not harder time actually showing the product in a sporty capacity, because they would want their athletes to be wearing it in the commercial. But then if they're wearing it, how do you see it? So they also did a similar direction where they would use animations and they would have the product fly out. And they would use like 3D renders of the thing. So we wanted to go in that direction a little bit. And I think that that was the right call. And for this, I even learned how to do After Effects and animations for that little short 2-second animation that happened. Okay, so now for the shot that we used the animations for, this was just a slow zoom in. And I don't know if you caught it, but this same shot, at least the beginning of this shot, like the shots that took place before this in the same take, was used in that build-up as he's walking onto the field, because I wanted this to be the payoff, and you look up and you see the mask and you understand, oh, now he's wearing this mask and he's using this mask in the sport. So we took the camera off the gimbal for these next shots. Again, we were using those back lights from the field and then the front lights to illuminate his face. And then we get to the final shot where he runs up to the line, he freezes, we zoom in, we dolly in, we tilt up, and this brings us full circle to one of those first shots where he freezes, we move around him, then the action continues. It's the same type of thing, and it kind of satisfies the viewer in a nice way. And just a little Where's Waldo moment. You know that Alfred Hitchcock appears in his own films. Could you tell where I appeared in my own? I'll give you a hint. Yeah, that was me breathing. That wasn't the actor. I recorded myself breathing and put it over him, which is kind of funny because I'm like small and scrawny, and Pat, our actor, is like jacked. So it's kind of funny that I'm voicing him in this film. So this was kind of a short breakdown of each scene, what went into it, my thoughts behind each scene, and hopefully this gave you an idea of how to put together your own product commercial. And huge shout out to Pat, our model, our actor. I will leave his social down below, specifically so that NFL, if you're watching, you can contact him and recruit him. Obviously, I'll be his agent, but I'll just take like a 49% commission on everything he makes, just something small like that. We'll talk. And guys, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. I don't think I have to tell you. It looks like this, located down below. And if you really want to help me out, feel free to hit that big red subscribe button. It's totally free, and you can always unsubscribe later. So there's really no commitment there. But most importantly, I hope this helped one of you guys out there, even if it only helped one person. Maybe you're going on your first official filmmaking gig tomorrow and you want to crush it. Well, you got this. I just want to say you got this. Just go with the flow, and I hope this video gave you some ideas for your own projects. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Wait, I gotta do the thing. Hang on. Peace.